and we will begin. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Vanderwall, still one of your vice presidents for another day and a half, and I am privileged to have been able to serve with this denomination since 2011, and I am grateful for that time that I have spent with you all and people in my own region. I would like to now invite our interim General Secretary to introduce someone for an ecumenical greeting.
Thank you, President. The Disciples Ecumenical Consultative Council has been a unique relationship for the World Communion of Reformed Churches. It's an ecumenical partner, but it's also a member of the WCRC. It's an associate member. We share the same theology and have a shared history. And so it's my pleasure to ask the General Secretary of the Disciples Ecumenical Consultative Council to bring greetings.
Sisters and brothers in Christ and dear friends in the World Communion of Reformed Churches, on behalf of the Disciples Ecumenical Consultative Council and the Disciples of Christ World Communion, I bring warm greetings and the heartfelt gratitude for the joy of greeting you here in Chiang Mai. First, our thanks to President Najla Kassab and General Secretary Reverend Dr. Setri Nyomi for shepherding this gathering and inviting us into this season of discernment and hope. Your leadership helps the churches listen for the Spirit together rather than simply talk past one another. We also extend deep appreciation to our gracious host, the Church of Christ in Thailand, which also Disciples of Christ here in Thailand have joined. For the warmth and hospitality you have shown in welcoming this council to your beautiful city. For you have worked tirelessly so that our common work might flourish, and perhaps so that some of us might flourish a little too much at the meal tables. Now I know it's late in the afternoon and what I like to call the ecumenical siesta time. Energy is low and coffee supplies are running thin, and we are all wondering just how long this afternoon stretch will last. So I promise you to be brief. The Disciples of Christ has a rather unique relationship with the WCRC, as General Secretary Nyomi shared, one that has no real precedent in the ecumenical movement. We are a world communion that holds associate membership within another world communion. It's like being part of one family, but spending most of your time at your cousin's house, and you belong to both, and both claim you when it's time to wash the dishes. And when I visit Korea, I often notice new and creative shop names. The funniest one I've seen was wedding boutique shop called Maybe. Imagine that. you are standing there in your tuxedo or gown, and the sign over the door says, maybe. And it's not exactly confidence inspiring. Sometimes our ecumenical relationships can feel a little like that, full of love and promise, but with a touch of hesitation. But let me assure you this afternoon, the disciples of Christ are not a maybe. We are fully committed to this relationship with the WCRC, and we will persevere in our witness together, standing for justice, nurturing communion, and walking faithfully with the wider ecumenical family. We celebrate the WCRC's 105th years of perseverance, a long obedience in the same direction, and give thanks for your courage to keep walking even when the road feels steep. As we journey together towards God's future, may your conversations until tomorrow be lively, and your prayers deep, and your coffee strong. Peace be with you.
This afternoon, we are entering a decision session on the public issues that we discussed yesterday afternoon, brought to us by the Public Issues Committee, and then those were given back to the drafting team, which worked long and tirelessly into the night in order to bring back proposals for us to discuss this afternoon. Please note that we will only be discussing the proposals. After each one is presented, we will allow for a full and fair discussion before calling for our orange and blue cards to indicate how we are feeling about the proposals. And now I would like to turn to Melissa to remind us of our shared values.
May the peace of Christ be with you. Friends, as we prepare our hearts and our minds for these sacred conversations this afternoon, I would call your attention to the WCRC Constitution. Yes, I love constitutions. Article 3, our values. This is Section B, where I believe we can turn a constitution into a prayer. So won't you pray with me? Holy and loving God, we gather as the World Communion of Reformed churches in your order, in your actions. We are called to respect and defend and advance the dignity of every person. In your Son, Jesus Christ, may all human differences lose their power to divide. May no one be disadvantaged for any reason, including race and ethnicity, gender, and may no individual here or church claim or exercise dominance over another, for we know, O Lord, that you are Lord of all. Amen. So may we keep the spirit of this prayer and these words before us as we continue to seek and discern God's will for this body. I'm not going to read all of what I normally read today. What I do want to remind us of is what are the potential outcomes for each of the proposals that we will be discussing today. So as we gather as a body, we have that full and fair conversation. If all those orange cards go up, we have reached consensus. And if most are in agreement, we've got some blue cards there. The moderator will ask if those blue cards consent for the body to move forward. And we'll be looking for you to either nod your head or wave a card to let us know that that's all right. When there are a large number of blue cards, remember this is not voting, so we are not counting. We're doing our best here. There are potential options for us to move forward as a body, even if we do have disagreement. One of those is to refer the matter to another body. That other body may be the executive committee. We're running out of time, so referring to another body to study here means it comes back tomorrow. That must be decided by consensus. This body may also determine that no decision can be reached. The moderator will ask you, is this how the body feels that we are going to move forward, that no decision can be reached? She will ask for those cards again. And the last option, this really isn't in the spirit of consensus, is to bring the matter to a vote. And first, the moderator will need to ask for your consensus to do so, and it actually isn't consensus at that point, it's 2/3 majority to then move towards a vote. Friends, we open our hearts and our minds in the ways in which God is speaking to us this day.
Thank you very much, Melissa. And now I would like to turn to George Marshankowski to present the report.
Moderator, allow me first to say thank you, express gratitude to the discernment groups that met in a longer than usual session yesterday afternoon and worked meticulously and carefully through the large document produced by the Public Witness Committee. So meticulous and so detailed was the consideration that the drafting team was kept up until 1 in the morning in order to read through all the inputs and try as best we can to amend the proposals according to the inputs given. I must also say that the Korean, Indonesian, French, and German translations are up, and we apologize that the Spanish is not yet up. It's because the report was only made ready in the English form just before the first session this morning, something past 7. So the translators, who usually work at night, were not able to work quite as efficiently as before. But we are hoping that even as we sit here in this session, the Spanish translation will come through. All of these are available on the website, but I will try to speak more slowly so that the interpretation is possible in your ear and with your device. We're in decision session number 8, and we're under the Public Witness Report. And the first section is entitled Justice for Creation and Displaced Peoples, a shared cry from the earth and the margins. And I draw your attention to the proposals which come at the end. It's on at the bottom of the 3rd page, but it'll come onto the screen. And it begins, the General Council is called upon to. I'm going to read the whole of the first section, Ecological and Climate Justice. 1, raise awareness and promote behavioral change, including within the WCRC and member churches, to prevent ecological calamities. 2, work with governments to ensure compliance with climate imperatives, taking into account a global perspective and working on the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. 3, advocate for rapid transition from fossil fuels to sustainable economies. 4, participate in international processes such as COP and share outcomes with member churches, encouraging, where possible, their own participation. And 5, ground advocacy in scientific evidence and faith-based discernment for the joint care of the oikos.
I'd like to just pause and make sure that everyone has access. We are reading it on the screen, but if the document is in front of you, I'd like to have everyone literally be on the same page. So, how does the body feel about what they have just heard? Seeing only orange cards, that has consensus.
B, people on the move and forced migration, communion as mutual hospitality. 1, educate their communities around the root causes of forced migration, including war, economic injustice, climate change, and discrimination. 2, collaborate through webinars and solidarity visits addressing displacement. 3, advocate for just migration policies that uphold human dignity. 4, support and connect member churches to grassroots initiatives, building sustainable livelihoods and resisting militarism. 5, encourage sanctions and accountability measures that target perpetrators of oppression rather than entire populations. And 6, engage youth and intergenerational networks to build bridges of solidarity and theological reflection on migration and belonging.
How does the body feel? There is one blue card. If that person would like to come to a mic, mic C, please.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Jan Libbe, Dutch Reformed Church in South Africa, and I'm trying to speak in English. With respect and our voice and support to all 6 points here, in the South African and African context, one cannot just say advocate for just migration policies that uphold human dignity without also considering one of the root causes in Africa for migrations due to economical or political circumstances. It is this year 150 years since the infamous Berlin Conference, where the map of Africa was redrawn by colonial powers. And many of those borders over the past 150 years caused a lot of suffering because it divided tribes and nations and peoples on different sides of a colonial border and forced others to live together in national entities, which was nothing but colonial creations. So I'm wondering whether the WCRC shouldn't open a very difficult discussion regarding the map of Africa, and therefore I would like to amend make a proposal to amend number 3, advocate for just migration policies that uphold human dignity, and also endeavor on a journey, opening a discussion with those peoples and communities in Africa that are still living in colonial national entities, not by choice, but by the historical events, something like that. Thank you.
So an amendment is before us on number 3. I can see it better on the screen, so bear with me as I turn around. And also endeavor on a journey, opening a discussion with those peoples and communities in Africa that are still living in colonial national entities, not by choice, but by historical consequence. That amendment, addition, is before you. How do you feel? There are a few blue cards. Would someone come to a mic and speak? Mic C.
Gerard Williamson, delegate for Uniting Church in Sweden. I can see this amendment as valuable. I would amend the amendment takeaway in Africa, because the same thing is also true for several other areas in the world where peoples have been divided by colonial borders. I can name examples even in Europe, but also in Asia and so on. So I totally agree with it without in Africa.
So we have an amendment to the amendment which says to delete the words "in Africa." How do you feel about that? Believe that gives us consensus. So the amended proposal is before us. Now, how do you feel about that? There is, I believe, one blue card that I see. Would that person like to come to the mic? I don't see them. So I believe that's received by consensus.
Can you take it as a whole?
Yes, as a whole, let us see how we feel about this part B. Yes, that is received by consensus. Thank you.
Thank you, Moderator. Paragraph C, Pacific Witness and Regional Solidarity. 1, support Pacific efforts for decolonization and self-determination as expressions of faith, justice, and the integrity of creation. 2, strengthen and empower youth and women's leadership through structured mentoring, participation in governance, and ecumenical formation, especially within climate justice and resilience initiatives. 3, integrate eco-communal theology into theological education and pastoral formation. 4, support and work with the Pacific region in advancing their climate commitments, including opposition to deep-sea mining, support for fossil fuel divestment, and culturally grounded well-being initiatives. And 5, work with the Pacific region to pursue nuclear and environmental justice, supporting affected communities, demanding accountability, and affirming that nuclear justice is essential to ecological renewal.
How does the body feel? There is a blue card, if the person would like to come to the mic.
Thank you, Moderator. My name is Alessandra from Congregational Christian Church Samoa. It's just a typo. Number 4, P for Pacific, capital, please, just to acknowledge Pacific people, as well as number 5. Thank you.
Apologies for that.
Can we take that as a friendly amendment and just capitalize those 2 words? Thank you. Now, may I see your cards again, please? That is carried by consensus.
Moderator, we proceed to the second section of this report, Justice for All Bodies. And I call the attention of the General Council to the proposals which are at the bottom, well, they're on the screen. I'm going to read the 3 proposals. The General Council is called upon to, 1, we celebrate the joy of the diversity of God's creation, including the life-giving gifts of human love and sexuality. 2, reaffirm our witness to Christ's gospel of love and inclusion by committing ourselves to being hospitable and welcoming to everyone regardless of their sexuality or gender identity, and specifically name the pain of exclusion in the life and leadership of the church. 3, continue to engage in a process of study and consultation to enable members to deepen their understanding of the social and theological implications of sexual orientation and gender expression, discern how God is calling the church to engage in prophetic witness on matters of sexuality and gender, and work towards building consensus for future public policy advocacy, Such consultations must include people of diverse sexualities and gender identities.
How does the body feel? I see a few blue cards. Would someone like to return or come to the mic? I recognize microphone D.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. My name is Abraham Nana Oparekwachi from the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. I'll try to speak in English. The second one ends with naming the pain of exclusion in the life and leadership of the church when it comes to the issue of sexuality. And I think that this does not reflect what some of us from the African region, our churches express. We ask that it should be taken out. Thank you.
How does the body feel about striking those words? As I specifically naming the pain of exclusion in the life and leadership of the church. How do you feel? I see a couple of orange cards, predominantly blue. Would the orange like to speak to this? Would anyone with a blue card like to speak to this? Microphone C, please.
Thank you, moderator. I'm Brian Ellison, a delegate from the Presbyterian Church USA. I'll speak in English. Moderator, I want to commend and thank the drafting team for the very careful, thoughtful wording that improved the original draft and improved even the first draft to reach this wording. This wording does not compel any particular member church on any continent to change their policies, nor does it declare them to be wrong. It simply asks that we recognize the pain that many LGBTQ people experience when they are excluded in the life and leadership of the church. One of the things that I have been blessed by this week at this council is the opportunity to meet people from around the world, not just my own tradition. And I have heard the stories. I have met the people's lives that are affected by being sexual minorities or people of different gender identities in contexts where their life becomes less safe, where their ministry is not recognized. And they do endure great pain. Many of them also continue to try to serve their church, and they experience great joy and are an inspiration to me. But they do that even with their pain. Moderator, it's also personal for me. I once served in a church that did not recognize the validity of my call as a gay man because the policies didn't allow me to serve. I'm grateful that that has changed in my context, but even if it hadn't, my pain would have still been real. I would invite this body to move forward with the language as it is and not approve this amendment so that we can acknowledge a reality for real people, not an issue, our siblings, brothers, and sisters in Christ.
Thank you. Microphone D, are you speaking in favor or against the amendment?
I'm speaking against the whole section.
Okay. Did you want to say more?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Inasmuch as I appreciate the short intervention of the last speaker, I think that the communion should be bold enough to bring up this whole issue in a concept presentation and on the agenda so that we listen to it, we go and do some discernment, and then it comes to plenary and we vote for it. This particular issue has not been presented officially and objectively for us to create a mindset that can enable us take some positions. And we cannot just bring it in without that we've had an official hearing at this General Council on this whole issue. I'm not against or for, but I think that we should have an objective hearing as a communion. And we cannot just force it into this stage of voting for it when no one has given an objective presentation of the whole concept for us to now get into discernment and then come to conclusions where we have to vote. So I'm saying that WCRC should take the bold step and take that decision and come up with these discussions openly so that we can discuss it at different levels as a whole topic of its own and then come here for voting. In that way, the communion will move together. There will definitely be people for and people against. And we'll see how we can manage those differences as a communion and move on as a communion.
Okay, thank you, Speaker.
Thank you.
We would need in the amendment, it does say we will continue to discern, I'm being reminded, but I hear a desire to strike this. I want to see how the body feels, this whole paragraph. Sorry, Speaker, was that just paragraph 2 or the entire section? The entire section, that's what I thought I had heard. So, how do you feel about that? I see a few orange cards, if someone would like to speak to that.
Madam Moderator, I'm Reverend Andemun from the Reformed Church of Christ for Nations, Nigeria. I remember yesterday a question was raised and the General Secretary gave clarification as relates to this as to whether this communion has taken a decisive decision on this. And the General Secretary informed us that the communion has not taken decisive decision. However, the issue of discrimination was emphasized. I think we need to help ourselves. So in other words, I am still standing in support that we shouldn't put the cart before the horse. If we feel that it is time for the communion to take a decision on this matter, let it be properly presented so that we can look at it collectively. This is a communion we are talking here. We are talking inclusiveness, where everybody needs to have a voice. So I am still standing on the position that the number 2 for now be expunged. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
I would now like to ask one of the blue cards to the last proposal to strike the paragraph to speak. I have someone at microphone D, but I want to have, yes, please.
Andrew Johnson from the Uniting Church in Australia. I'm a delegate and I will speak in English. I don't believe that any of these 3 proposals, and in particular the carefully reworded paragraph 2, is seeking to take a position of this communion in relation to sexuality and leadership in the life of the communion. It is seeking to live out that part of the gospel that says when one part of the body hurts, we all hurt. and it is seeking to name the pain of one part of the body in relation to the life and leadership of the church. It is my understanding that all baptised people are members of the church, and yet people who are baptised into the one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church have experienced the pain of exclusion in our life. We have heard a lot of pain over the last few days and acknowledge that pain, and this paragraph invites us to acknowledge the pain of one part of our body so that we can be a communion together. And paragraph 3 invites us to continue the conversation so that maybe one day we will find a consensus as a communion. It does not ask us to make a decision now.
Thank you, Speaker. Microphone A.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Isette, and I'm going to speak in Spanish. La pregunta que me surge frente a esta propuesta es ¿cuánto más tenemos que retrasar la justicia? La propuesta es clara. Como comunión celebramos la diversidad de la creación de Dios. Como comunión reafirmamos el testimonio de amor de Jesucristo. Y aún así, como comunión, estamos dando la oportunidad de continuar estudiando, reflexionando teológicamente sobre un asunto que es netamente de justicia. No veo imposición, veo incluso una apertura para aquellas personas que aún les cuesta comprender que este es un tema de justicia y de presentación del amor de Dios a su diversidad. Por eso estoy en contra de quitarlo, porque es la oportunidad que tenemos de comunión, de dar verdadero testimonio de justicia y de amor.
So I want to, I think I'll first take our consultant here.
Thank you very much. I mean, we know all how sensitive this topic is, and I would not want to speak pro or con, but describe what the communion has been doing in the last 8 years. We had a couple of high-level consultations. The first one in 2017 in Chennai in India, where we shared stories and affirmed the decision by the last General Council that we move on this as communion together without excluding anyone. And a second workshop in 2023 in Hyderabad, India, where people from all over the communion came, from all the continents, from all the churches with different positions on this issue. And we affirmed the sentence that we have in action number 56 of the last General Council, that every person should be allowed to flourish, and that every person is an expression of God's grace, also with regard to his or her sexuality. I'm pointing out that we didn't take a position on ordination or any church legal things, but we wanted, and this was a wide consensus, which we also have published, this message of grace to the communion.
Thank you. We come back now to the amendment of removing the entire section, and I want to see how the body feels. Are the orange cards able to move on? Because there is a preponderance of blue. No. Do you feel it has been a full and fair conversation?
Moderator, I stand to say that it is not fair because, as the previous speaker said, one, the immediate statement contradicts what the SG told this forum. And it was explained well that this communion has not taken a position. Number two, I think if you are fair, and if there have been any deliberations on this matter, the communion leadership could have been fair to bring it as a substantive agenda for proper discussions and also voting on the matter. But what we are witnessing within this, the conversations and the various presentations we've had, is that people are trying to sneak in bit and bit to convince this House. So, Moderator, I think one injustice to one is too much injustice to all. And what we are saying is that we come from a background whereby we have ethos and which are informed by our various cultural practices, which have been mingled together with our Christian faith. And we would feel offended and not being given justice if the matter was treated in a daisical way, the way we are trying to do it now. And therefore, Moderator, I feel this issue needs to be given more time, more conversation, and I stand to support this, the purging out of that clause in entirety to give us more time, more room, and for us to be more objective on this matter. Because if the issue is not well articulated, Moderator, we would register our dissent if it is allowed, because we are not convinced that this justice to one group in the other exclusion of all others is justice at all. Thank you.
I have had a couple of indications of a desire to move on, but I do want to recognize microphone C, and then we'll see where we are.
Anneke Backe from the Evangelical Reformed Church in Germany. I'm a delegate. I'll be speaking in English. I want to confirm what has already been said, that this is not a policy or, in my opinion, forcing a statement from the communion on this regard. But I would like to add that, as mentioned in the last General Council, there were some decisions, and part of that I would like to quote is the General Council confesses its complicity in supporting violence through its silence. And I think if we scratch out this paragraph, we are silent again. Thank you.
Microphone B for some consultation, advice.
It was, the question was the topic properly prepared on the General Council? And I would like to refer to the decisions that we took on the communion concept paper, where we have under the conceptual goals, holistic communion, the following sentence. The WCRC works towards just relations within and without the communion, particularly with regard to sexual and gender minorities. This is what we have affirmed together.
Thank you, Hans. I'd like to see again how the body feels about removing the section as has been amended. We have a preponderance of blue cards, which means to not strike the section. Are you ready to move on? Show us your orange cards if you would be willing to move on. I have a few waving blue. The decision that we have reached is that we believe that the preponderance do not desire to remove the paragraph, and it feels that it was enough to be majority, and would suggest that the blue cards, those who would like to remove it, would file with the clerks, a dissent with the clerks. So we're not actually removing it, but we have to deal with it, so we have to have...
We still have to come back to it.
It will be returned, but at this point...
Yep. So to move forward, we need consent on the original.
We need now to have consent on the original, understanding that there is dissent. How do you feel? No?
We need... So what we need to do right now, it gets confusing, doesn't it? It's all right. So we're coming back now because it was an amendment to remove it. So now we're coming back to 1, 2, and 3 as written to ask how the body feels in its original form.
This is why we have consultants. So we still have the preponderance are orange, and so I invite the blues to register your dissent to this matter. Let's move on.
May I talk? Just a matter of...
No, we have completed.
Only the matters of term. I want to give a proposal about the term sexual orientation, gender identity.
Excuse me, that I believe that is out of order right now. This is not what we are discussing, and so let's move on to the next.
I just want to make it
paragraph.
Clear.
No, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, madam, but it has moved by consensus, but it's not by consensus. It cannot be moved by consensus on the board.
We had a preponderance of orange cards, and we invited those who did not have orange cards to register their dissent. I guess the body could. We don't reconsider. Anybody else want to say anything from the? I believe we have decided the matter that the majority was in favor of keeping the original.
Madam Moderator.
Moderator, may I ask a question for clarification?
Excuse me, let's just take a break for a couple minutes and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you.
I apologize for the confusion.
President, you have to talk something.
Please return. We have consulted, and we believe the best path forward is for us to take this to a vote. We are going to take first a vote about taking a vote on this. And so someone needs to make a motion that we put this to a vote of the House. So we've left consensus model right now, and we are going to decide whether we will take a vote to move on from this issue. Would someone like to make that motion?
Yep.
Okay, I have several cards wanting to make that motion. So therefore, we have that motion before us that we will bring this to a vote of the House. If you agree with this, please put your orange cards up. That is at least 2/3. So now we will go to a vote, and now we do not take this by cards. It has to be by hands, or standing would be much easier for us to count. So,
if they agree with the recommendation, they would stand.
so if you agree with the original recommendation, and that is without any amendment, please stand. You may be seated, and I've been asked to ask people, or ask the film crew not to film the vote, please. Now I would like to invite those who are against this section of the report to please stand. You may be seated, and the motion to keep the original section has been approved. And so we move on. But before we do, I would like to apologize. I've used a couple of times the word consensus when it was not full consensus. So I will endeavor not to do that anymore as we go forward. I appreciate your indulgence. Let's move on.
Moderator, we are doing so well. We have 18 sections left to go. The next section is entitled Reproductive Rights, a justice issue for all bodies. Call the Council's attention to the proposals. The General Council is called upon to 1. Include reproductive rights within the Communion's gender justice network, gender justice work, giving attention to churches that require contextual resources and support. 2. Encourage theological reflection and the pastoral care that affirms the sacredness of choice, life, dignity, and community well-being. These appeals embody the Council's commitment to discern, confess, witness, and be reformed through communities that center love, dignity, and the flourishing of life.
The proposal is before you. How do you feel? There are a few blue cards. Would someone like to come to the mic to speak to this? Microphone D, I believe, was first.
Liz Hughes from the Presbyterian Church in Ireland, obviously speaking in English. I would have great difficulty with these particular proposals, given the context of referring to a safe abortion, which, without all the nuances that might help myself and my church, which is very much pro-life, and that viewpoint is reflected in the discernment group that I was part of yesterday. All of us present who declared their viewpoint had real struggles with these proposals because of the context in which they are presented. As pro-life denominations, we found it very difficult, and we felt that real careful, not unlike what folks said at the last issue, that real careful reflection would have been needed before these kind of proposals were brought to the full communion.
Within the proposal itself, those words are not there. I understand it was in the report. But do you have a way of strengthening this or modifying it that would be appropriate?
I'm sorry, we wrestled with it yesterday for ages in our group, and we could find no way of all the nuances we would have needed to put in to make it acceptable.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? B, microphone B, please.
I'm Ravin Caldera from Presbyterian of Lanka. I'm the delegate. The word sacredness of choice, the sacredness doesn't have a meaning because what do you mean by choice? That's what we were talking about in our discernment group. We alternate with the agency of choice or something like that rather than importance. What is the wording? Importance of agency rather than choice.
Did you want to make that as an amendment?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So to remove
sacredness and of choice, but to add importance of agency. Urgency, you know the word.
I'm not sure.
Agency. Remove this, agency, yes.
Did you want to replace?
I want to replace sacredness of choice with importance of agency.
The importance of agency.
Thank you, Madam.
How do you feel about that amendment? To remove the sacredness of choice, to insert the importance of agency. How does the body feel? There's question at the head table, and based on the few cards that are up, I'm wondering if that is not being understood. What does that mean? Would the speaker like to explain a little further? What does the importance of agency mean?
I don't have the minutes of what we have discussed. I'm coming from that. Hans, would you please?
Ma'am, may I try to explain? I think he meant
Yes,
that urgency.
would you please identify yourself?
Okay, I'm Dana from Christian Churches of Java. I think he meant of urgency. Urgency, how to spell it? Like U-R-G-E-N-C-Y.
No.
I think that's what he meant.
Urgency? Is that the word that you were in? Oh, okay. So in other words, the other amendment was not what was intended. So it looks as we have changed it to the importance of urgency.
No. Okay, we can remove it, put it choice back, importance of choice. No? Wait, I'm sorry.
Maria Besedes, Reformed Church in Serbia. I'm a now elected member of the Executive Committee. We use this importance of agency in the discernment group because choice, even though it's not said, it's not called abortion, we know what it is about. And sacredness of choice, which means abortion or the right to abort, we couldn't have it. We didn't accept it, and that's why we substituted it with importance of agency, which means the possibility to choose.
Okay, so we are back to what we had talked about, the agency of choice, life, dignity, etc.
Yes.
That is what you are saying is meant in that conversation here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. How does the body feel about this change? I'm seeing a mixture of card colors, and would someone with a blue card like to speak? I think someone's coming to mic D.
Victoria Turner, United Reformed Church, UK. I don't really know how much there is to say about this, but I think women should be able to choose. And choice is sacred, and that's that.
So you're speaking against the amendment?
I'm speaking against changing the amendment, yes.
Okay.
No, I'm speaking against the amendment, just that.
Speaking against the amendment. To return the first, I believe, yeah, microphone B, please.
Uli Burkhalter, Protestant Church of Switzerland. I'm speaking in English, but I'm not a native speaker. And I'm quite fluent in English, but I never heard the word agency as something like choice. So I would say I would suggest or recommend to suggest importance of agency and sacredness of life, dignity, and community well-being. Importance of choice and sacredness. I said importance of choice. Okay.
Moderator, if it's helpful at all, the way in which I understand the English word agency is that it is the ability to make decisions and act independently.
Yes.
Agency is the ability to make decisions and act independently.
So as it would read, as I'm understanding it, it would be the encourage theological reflection and pastoral care that affirm the importance of choice and sacredness of life, dignity, and community well-being. Is that the essence of what this previous speaker said? Okay, I understand that now. Okay. Are you speaking to the amendment? Microphone.
Yeah?
Yeah, before we do that, let's see how the room feels about that amendment. Please show your cards. Well, we're split, I believe, on that. I'll go to microphone B.
Helene Zorgdrager, Protestant Church in the Netherlands. Agency is a more specific moral agency, and it is here about the inviolability of the moral agency of women to make a choice. So I support the speaker who said we cannot do here without choice. I am against splitting up importance of choice and sacredness of life. Then again, it is the one or the other, pro-choice, pro-life, and we come into a competition where these decisions, choices of moral agencies are made always in relational settings. A woman and the life in her are not separated. They are not in competition with one another. It is a relational choice, however the choice will be. It is a moral agency, a moral choice. So I am against this amendment. And I would plead for the inviolability of moral agency and choice of women and leave out the sacredness, but okay. Or put in the sacredness of choice. The importance of moral agency of women and the sacredness of choice and life, dignity, and community well-being.
I think we need a the before moral there. Thank you. Okay, we have that amendment to the amendment on the floor, so please tell me how you feel. I'm going to read number 2. Encourage theological reflection and pastoral care that affirm the importance of the moral agency of women and the sacredness of choice, life, dignity, and community well-being. How do you feel about that? Yeah, please hire. We need. Wake up, please. We do not have consensus. We do have more orange cards than blue, so I will take a blue. I'll have Speaker Blue. B.
Martin Hirzel, Protestant Reformed Church in Switzerland. Delegate, I speak in English. I think the simple thing would be to take the sacredness of choice out and say the right of choice or to choice, because I think regarding our Reformed tradition, we can never do, our human action agency can never be sacred, so I would take that out.
Does that, just a moment, does that satisfy the speaker's desire there? Yes, okay, thank you. Now, I know A has been here. I would like to first turn to B for a consultant's opinion.
Thank you, moderator. In the 2017 General Council, the General Council called on the General Secretariat to prepare a gender policy for the WCRC by 2019. We made a gender policy in 2019 that was ratified and passed by the Executive Committee in 2020, in its meeting in 2020. In that policy, which remains as policy of the WCRC, I would like to read a particular sentence which I believe has implications for what is being discussed. And that sentence said, "We commit to a process of study and discernment over the issues of sexuality, sexual pleasure, fertility, reproductive rights, and the right to choose." So we have a very clear language and actually direction on this.
Thank you. Microphone A.
Okay, my name is Francisco Cardona. I'm from Presbyterian Church of Colombia, and I want to speak in Spanish. So I give you. Ok, entonces yo quisiera, sé que es un tema supremamente complejo, complicado, pero rápidamente quisiera hacer dos propuestas. Primero una reflexión y van las dos propuestas. Lo primero, yo no estoy de acuerdo con la expresión carácter sagrado de la elección, porque puede sonar teológicamente ambiguo o justificar el aborto como un derecho absoluto. Por lo tanto, lo reemplazaría más por una formulación o una propuesta que reconozca la libertad de conciencia, que es un principio teológico y pastoral, pero que también resalta la responsabilidad moral y el acompañamiento pastoral, que son esenciales de una ética cristiana reformada. Considero que es importante mantener el enfoque compasivo, pastoral y realista sin caer en extremos ideológicos. Por lo tanto, recomiendo la siguiente redacción. Voy a leerla, bueno, en español y luego en inglés, si están de acuerdo, queda más clara, y es lo siguiente: fomentar la reflexión teológica y la atención pastoral que afirme la dignidad, la libertad de conciencia y la responsabilidad moral en las decisiones relacionadas con la vida y la comunidad, reconociendo la complejidad de cada situación humana y acompañando pastoralmente a quienes enfrentan decisiones difíciles, con compasión, discernimiento y justicia. Esta sería mi propuesta para cambiar el punto 2, o simplemente la dejaría encourage theological reflection and pastoral care that affirms the life, dignity, and community well-being. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. We have another amendment on the table. I would like to take just a couple of minutes of a break. Don't go anywhere, but I'd just like to consult with consultants here. Thank you. Okay, everyone, please, we thank you for your indulgence. Since we've had a glut or many different amendments made, but none of them were affirmed by consensus. And so we are exploring another way of looking at this. And I want to just test to see if what is now before you is something that you can affirm. So please, I will read it. Encourage theological reflection and pastoral care that affirms dignity, freedom of conscience, and moral responsibility in decisions related to the complexity of each human situation, and providing pastoral accompaniment to those facing difficult decisions with compassion, discernment, and justice. How do you feel? I now see only a couple of blues. So would someone with a blue card like to come to speak? I see someone moving to microphone D.
Good afternoon, Julia Gahn, United Church of Christ in the U.S. I'm a delegate and I'll be speaking in English. I appreciate the work that has gone in to craft the original proposal that has now been attempting to be carefully drafted again, but frankly, two doesn't mean anything anymore. And if we want to say something, we should say something. And if we don't want to say something, we shouldn't say anything.
Anyone else like to speak to this? Microphone B.
Some of our churches are in contexts where baby girls are not wanted, where the women do not have the right either to decide to carry out the pregnancy or a choice for abortion, where the husband is deciding on the life of the women and of the embryo. In this case, without mentioning here women, I mean, it says nothing. Dignity, the dignity of women, the moral responsibility, freedom of conscience of women, who have the first moral responsibility and moral agency to make their choices here. So
Do you have an amendment? No, sorry, no applause. Thank you. Do you have an amendment that would insert that in a particular place? That would be helpful.
Yeah, that affirm the dignity of, I think that is already an improvement, because then it reads also the freedom of conscience implying women, the moral responsibility implying women in decisions, etc. For me, this is an improvement.
The amendment of adding women is before you. How do you feel? That is, I don't see blue cards. So that is approved. So now we're back to the amendment itself again, to number 2 as it reads on the screen. How do you feel about that now? I see one blue card. Would they like to speak, or would you be willing to move on? I see a please move on. Then I believe that is approved. Thank you for your hard work on this. Okay, let's move. Okay, now we have to take the entire section. How do you feel? I see one or two blue cards. Someone would like to speak? Or can you allow the body to move on? Microphone D, someone is moving to.
Yeah, thank you very much. Lucy, Presbyterian Church of East Africa. Not to influence any direction, but just to say that these are matters of also conscience, values, and also very contextual. And in a way, we feel we're being rushed into making decisions that we are not ready for. And sorry, to link the earlier decisions and this, and wondering at what moment do we even vote for issues that are touching on conscience, on morals and values, on culture. And I am not voting either way, but just to say that it feels like a very sad afternoon. And that's what I can say, because I don't feel and we don't feel like we are really building communion. These matters are heavy on our countries because the issue of controls, rights, and choices in reproduction, we feel, have something to do with also some form of colonialism in the sense of depopulating Africa. So we feel strongly about this. And so either way, whatever direction we take on the previous one and this one, we may register our dissent, yes, but it's not building the communion. So at some point, I wonder whether we are starting to do activism, or what is this direction that the WCRC is taking? So it's a sad afternoon. That's all I want to register. It's a sad afternoon, and may we pray that we remain in communion. Because we cannot take votes on moral, conscience, issues that we feel so strongly about our values. It's a sad afternoon. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Those who held blue cards, are you able to move on? Please indicate it by showing your cards. I believe we have reached agreement through this discussion, even though I hear what the speaker said, that this is difficult work for all of us. Philip, please.
Madam Moderator, just to reiterate that we had been asked to engage in a study process over this. And I would like to once more bring this to the floor, that we remit this to a study process to be able to morally discern together.
Thank you, Philip. Appreciate that. And we have cards asking us to move on, so let us do so.
Moderator, I think I must be the only one that gets excited when you say move on, because the next item of business is Indigenous people. It's going to be on the screen, and I'm drawing the Council's attention to the proposals. The General Council is called upon to, 1, produce a policy statement calling for economic reparations to be paid to Indigenous peoples, including the return of land taken from Native peoples. 2, make a call to raise the issues of Indigenous rights within the member communions of the WCRC. And 3, develop educational materials to raise awareness throughout our denominations and member churches about the ongoing discrimination and oppression being inflicted upon Indigenous peoples.
This is before you. How do you feel? We have consensus, or do we? Okay, we have blue cards. Does someone want to speak to this? Microphone C, I believe someone's reaching.
Thank you, Moderator. It's Jan Libbe speaking from South Africa. In English, although I agree totally with the intention and even the different points of that proposal, I'm also speaking from a context where the word reparations and restoration and even restitution is being hotly being debated in our politics, and there are certain interpretations to those words, etc. I don't want to go into that. I would just like that the WCRC, when producing a policy statement calling for those reparations, perhaps always also pay attention or go into the issue of how. In many of our contexts, the history of colonialism and where we are now, years on, created a very complex economical system, and it's not so easy to say who should make the payment, how are you making the payment. So I would like the Communion, when studying that, also pay attention or help us by with the ways in which you intend or would like to see that. So if I may make an amendment or add something, producing a policy statement calling for economic reparations to be paid to indigenous peoples, including the return of land taken from native peoples, and exploring the ways in which that practically may be done, something like that.
That amendment is before you. How do you feel? I don't see any blue cards. That is approved by consensus. Thank you. Now we come back to the whole of this section. How do you feel? I see one blue card. Would you like to speak to it?
Just a caution. Is it correct English? That's what I'm not a native speaker, so is it the sentence is correct? Which and that is there both. It is, if it is right, it's okay.
Where is that?
Which that may practically.
That is
it's okay.
That is okay. Thank you.
So that is referring back to the return of land taken from native peoples.
Right. Okay, thank you. Microphone C.
Roshana Gillis, Guyana Congregational Union. This is in general. Just want to say that voting took place in the last, over the last decision. A number wasn't given for those for and those against. But the record would show that it was a majority or by consensus. What we need to know is the number of those that would have abstained, because in the record it will show majority, perhaps 40 against 15, but it did not show abstention, and that is significant.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. That is not part of our usual practice, from what I understand. It's not in our procedures. But I can say the vote was substantial. So now we are back to the entirety of this section. How do you feel? That is carried by consensus. Thank you.
Moderator, the next section is People of African Descent, Recognition, Justice, and Development. The proposal is as follows. The General Council is called upon to, 1, demand an end to the racist attacks and acts of violence against people of African descent their churches and communities. 2, recognize that violent attacks on and the incarceration of individual black people are possible because of institutionalized racism in the structures, systems, and processes across countries. 3, commit to dismantling white supremacist ideologies and the myth of racial superiority, and to champion initiatives of reparations. 4, prioritize engagement with the Permanent Forum of People of African Descent, including active participation in side events and submission of written experiences from member churches and grassroots bodies. 5, ensure that forum priorities and activities are presented to relevant WCRC decision-making bodies and serve as the basis for advocacy areas for the General Council.
How do you feel? There is a blue card if someone would like to speak.
Moderator, I am Mwawi Chirongozi from the Church of St. Africa Presbyterian. I'll speak in English. On number 2, if that way the black people would be changed to people of African descent. I think that's what we agreed in our group, because we have to be consistent. Ahead and below, we are talking of people of African descent, and then somewhere we're saying black people. Thank you.
So you would prefer to use on number 2, people of African descent, and remove black. How does the room feel about that? That is approved by, okay, there are some blue cards. Would someone like to speak to it? Moving to microphone C.
Madam Moderator, thank you. My name is Warren Lassane. I'm a delegate from the PCUSA in the United States. And I would like to speak against the removal of black people. Living in the United States, I live out this reality each and every day. And particularly now in the context and culture that's going on in the United States and around the world, I think it's important. I think it's critical. It is necessary to identify that this is happening particularly to black folk.
Thank you. So we have an amendment to return to the black, to the word black instead of, okay. The amendment is still before us. With that advice, does anyone want to speak further? Let's test the cards on who would like to, who approves the amendment as opposed to going back to what it was before. So if you approve still the amendment, please hold up your cards. Okay, let's try that another way. Suggest.
So, are putting before the body the amendment, the word black.
So we are entertaining a motion to remove the word black people and inserting people of African descent. How do you feel? That is still the amendment. How do you feel about that? It has changed. Okay. So, there are now more blues than oranges, although there are many that I'm not seeing at all. So let me test this. All of you who approve it as it is right now, please hold up your cards, or just hold up your cards for how it is on the screen right now.
Is that the original moderator?
Yes. No. The people of African descent, because I was confused. I would like to retest this. So if you approve from African descent, please hold up your orange cards if you approve of people from African descent. So we have more blue cards at this point. So let's go back to the original, which goes to individual Black people. Let's see how you feel about that. Would anyone else like to speak about it or strengthen the proposal in some way? I think B was there first.
Bianca Galland is my name. I'm from the Protestant Church in the Netherlands. I just want to say that what make it for me difficult, it doesn't matter if it would be Black people or people of African descent, but it is inconsistent. At one hand, it is people of African descent, and in the other sentence, we speak about Black people. So I would prefer if we can make it consistent.
Let me test this. What if we were to include both in this proposal? Because I'm listening to the speaker who said in the United States context that is different than other contexts. How would it be, and let me just test this, bear with me, that we say, recognize that violent attacks on and the incarceration of individual Black people or people of African descent and peoples of African descent. Let me test, how do you feel about that? I see mostly orange, but I'd like to hear from a blue.
Well, Gerard Williamson, Uniting Church in Sweden, delegate speaking English. I agree with my sister. It is still not consistent in this way because the whole paragraph is about people of African descent, and then all of a sudden in one sentence we are speaking about Black people, which are a lot of other people who are not of African descent. So somehow we have to make a choice or change the whole paragraph to make it consistent, speaking about Black people in whatever country or context, or we have this paragraph speaking about specifically people of African descent. It's either the one or the other. So the problem is the inconsistency in the whole paragraph which we create.
Thank you, Speaker. Let me call on Speaker A. Thank you for being patient.
Thank you very much, Madam President, Vice President. The word African descent has more respect. But again, also you're talking of not only Black people, but we have people from India and other parts of the world that carries the name African descent despite of their color. So it would be more respectable. Me, as one of the Black people, I will feel highly respected if it is African descent than just say Black people. That wouldn't augur well with me. Thank you, Madam.
So may I clarify your comment? Are you wanting to...
Supporting African descent.
Supportive, but are you support if we were to add both into both places? That is not what you were saying. You want to just go back to African descent.
Either African descent If people are not comfortable, then include both, not the other way around.
Microphone D, please.
So one second. The term people of African descent and the UN International Decade for People of African Descent refers to something very specific. In the UN context, what it references are people, particularly of African descent, descendant from enslaved people whose rights were not included, particularly with indigenous peoples. So it particularly pertains to people who are in the Caribbean basin, who are there as a result of the transatlantic slave trade, descendant from Black Africans. That's where the term started. In some cases, it's used interchangeably with Black to reference a particular context and a particular people. So in this particular case, when we're saying the incarceration of individual Black people and people of African descent, it is actually redundant. And in some cases, when we're talking about people of African descent, we're talking about a specific group of people. I don't have the entire language on the top, but for example, when it talks about prioritize engagement with the Permanent Forum of People of African Descent, it is specifically referencing work in the United Nations that is related to this particular body of work. This is something very specific, and I think that we're layering on top of it, particularly experiences and knowledge that doesn't relate to what's here.
Microphone A.
Thank you, Isette, and I'm going to speak in Spanish. Solo tener en cuenta también los contextos para muchos de nosotros decir personas negras no es irrespetuoso. Hemos luchado muchos años por la identidad negra y por reconocerla como una identidad de respeto. Entonces, no hay ningún problema con poner personas negras, porque para nuestro contexto no es irrespetuoso. Y entiendo el término de descendientes africanos, pero creo que en algunos contextos muy específicos, el decir personas negras tendría mucho más impacto.
Thank you, Speaker. Microphone D.
Thank you, moderator. Michael Blair, United Church of Canada, and I speak in English. In my response to the Justice paper a couple days ago, I tried to articulate the challenge of anti-Black racism and the need for us to name the reality that there's a particular kind of system that works against Black peoples. And so I would argue that we keep Black and not add in this, particularly to people of African descent as well, given some of the definitions that Karen Georgia has offered.
Thank you. I am wondering, with the advice that has been given, if we could test this with the advice that it is a redundancy to use both, and that Black is referring to various contexts. What if we were to now return to, and If I may, is Michael still there? Are you looking at it in both of the paragraphs or the sections that are referenced here?
I would be naming that particularly in two. I think one offers the breadth of the particularities of the former enslaved and the legacies of people of former enslaved, where I think in this case it's helpful to name it as Black peoples.
So let me just keep you one more moment. So are you making amendment then to delete what is underlined at this point?
Yes.
Okay. So that amendment is now before us, which means that we had at one point changed it to Black people, or that was there, right? That was the original language. So now we are back to the original proposal. And I want to test where we are given all of the advice and discussion we have had. Please show how you feel. We do have a majority of orange cards, and I am wondering if those with blue cards would be willing to let us move on. I see someone coming to the mic. Microphone A.
Moderator, it's the inconsistency that is in there in the document. Because all along, from the top to the bottom, it's only in that sentence, number 2, where we are talking of Black people, but the rest we are talking of people of African descent. So that inconsistency maybe can be corrected. Thank you.
I
If we
believe
want to use Black people, then it should start from the top to the rest of the document. Thank you.
I guess I'm trying to listen to the advice of the various speakers and to say that maybe there is value in including both. So let me again test the House. How do you feel about keeping the language that is on the screen? I believe we are approved mostly, I think it is all orange cards, so that is approved. And now we need to approve the whole, all 5 pieces. How do you feel? That is approved by consensus, and I thank the body for your good work in this. Shall we move on?
Music to my ears, moderator. We now proceed to overcoming all forms of slavery. The General Council is called upon to 1. Endorse and affirm collaboration with other ecumenical organizations, such as the World Council of Churches, Council for World Mission, and the Lutheran World Federation in overcoming all forms of slavery and its continuing legacy. 2. Encourage member churches to discern, to listen, and to see how modern forms of slavery play a role in their own context. And 3, invite member churches into companionship and solidarity with those who are affected by slavery and its continuing legacy in order to transform injustice, heal memories, and actively engage in a ministry of repair and reparations.
How does the body feel? That is approved by consensus.
Solidarity with Dalits, dismantling discrimination on the basis of birth and occupation. The General Council is called to 1. Stand in solidarity with Dalits and Dalit Christians and their struggle for dignity and liberation. 2. Advocate for Dalit emancipation in international forums. 3. Organize consultations that bring together people oppressed due to reasons of caste, race, occupation, or descent, to share experiences and strengthen mutual solidarity across regions.
How do you feel? That is approved by consensus.
Justice for all and freedom and the right of self-determination for Palestinians. The General Council is called upon to 1. Reaffirm the General Council's Declaration of Leipzig, which affirmed that, and I quote, that with respect to the situation of injustice and suffering that exists in Palestine and the cry of the Palestinian Christian community, the integrity of Christian faith and praxis is at stake. 2. Therefore, state that the continued oppression of the Palestinian people, depriving them of their freedom and right to self-determination, is a sin against both God and humanity. 3. To discern and address the phenomenon of Christian Zionism in all its forms, which is understood as a political, theological ideology and distortion of the biblical witness whenever it justifies violence or occupation in the name of God, while making a clear distinction between this and Judaism, which is an ancient faith that shares with us the prophetic values of justice and compassion. Rejecting Christian Zionism does not mean rejecting Judaism. Rather, it expresses our commitment never to use faith to justify injustice, racism, or violence. 4. Confess and acknowledge that any attempts to justify oppression biblically or theologically distort God's truth and justice. 5. Demand that the State of Israel be held accountable to act in accordance with UN resolutions, human rights, and international law. 6. Call on Israel and Hamas to turn away from the path of violence and hatred and instead actively engage in the process of restorative justice, acknowledgement of sin, remorse, and repentance, asking for forgiveness and starting meaningful reparations. 7. Call on the international community to support Gaza's reconstruction and the rehabilitation of the Palestinian people, including long-term trauma care and recovery programs, as well as member church humanitarian programs, working with Palestinian partners to support these efforts. And 8, work towards and support all efforts to promote just peace and reconciliation for Palestine and Israel and across the region, including working with our member churches, partners, and other ecumenical and international organizations.
Thank you. How do you feel? I see a couple of blue cards if someone would like to speak to that. How about number B?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Sophie Mayfair from the Protestant Church in Switzerland, and I will try to speak in English. In regard of the fact that Judaism is quite alive and not only an ancient faith, like we will talk of the religion of ancient Greece, I propose to make an amendment that is quite simple, to remove the word ancient and write the following: Judaism, with which we share the First Testament and the prophetic values of justice and compassion. Thank you.
Could you say that again, please? Which number are you speaking
3.
to? Number 3. And please repeat your...
Yeah. Judaism, with which we share the First Testament and the prophetic values of justice and compassion, which is the end of the sentence.
The amendment is before you. How do you feel? I see consensus. So we are now back to the original with that change. How do you feel? There is a blue card, microphone A, please.
Yes, thank you. Ellie Borsma-Sarkani of the Christian Reformed Church in North America. I will speak in English. I had decided I was not going to be the grammar police, but I think in this case it does kind of matter. Number 5, I believe that State of Israel should actually be a capital S for state. That's a very minor thing, but it does make a difference in how it's understood.
Can we have that as a friendly amendment? Show your cards, please. Thank you. Microphone C, please.
I'm Danny Awad from the Presbyterian Church in Palestine. I just have in number 3, it is very important to add the word Zionist and Christian Zionist. This is very important. Christian Zionist came from the idea of Zionism around the world, around the globe. So it's not only limited in the Christian family, the Christian Zionists, but it's worldwide. Second thing.
So, pardon me, just let me make sure that the table understands. Zion, okay, yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Number 6, call on Israel and Hamas. This sentence made me just to think that the problem in Gaza happened only on October 7. But October 7, it is a result for more than 70 years of occupation in Palestine. And in this sentence, I can see it's only personal thing between Hamas and Israel. But in fact, it's about all Palestinian people, even with me, resisting against Israel occupation. And I would suggest to add, as we have only 8 numbers, I suggest to add number 9. It's really very important because now we can see a lot of families, a lot of churches, organizations are adding this in their statement is the BDS. BDS is very important for the WCRC to take a stand. Are we with BDS? Because we speak about justice, we speak about self-determination for Palestinian people, but are we stand with BDS or not? And that's really very important. I really suggest to be number 9 for it. BDS, for the one who doesn't know it, it is boycott, divestment, and sanctions. And I challenge you to be added on this statement. Thank you.
Can you be more specific about that, please?
BDS is all the product that came from Israeli settlement that was built in a Palestinian land. It was stolen from a Palestinian land. And they built a factory there, many factories, and they sell their product around the world. And it is very important to boycott all these products because it is sin for us to do it and to buy. It's like we are buying stolen things. That's in a very simple way.
Okay, I'm having an amendment suggested here. Let me test it with the speaker first. That the WCRC would support the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. Does that sound what you are saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is amendment addition is before us. How do you feel? Yes, so we're just dealing with adding number 9. I see a couple of blue cards. Not a lot of cards, so seems to be I'm not quite sure what B, but I'll recognize microphone B.
One question about adding a number. I thought that is not possible to do because in the other session, I think the moderator says that we cannot add a number, we can only correct in the sentence we have, or?
No, moderator, the two different scenarios are being confused. When one is voting on the Constitution, as we were about to do this morning, you cannot add any amendments to the Constitution. That has to be sent to member churches. We are now in a consensus session, and we're dealing with the responses from the different discernment groups, and so it is possible for a person to say, well, we had something in our discernment group, the drafting committee has not incorporated it, so we want to add this particular thing. There's no limits on additions that can be made.
Thank you for that information. Microphone B.
Barbara Rudolph from the Church in Rhineland, Germany. I'm an ecumenical delegate without vote. That's because I do not have any blue card. I speak in English because I have a voice, and I try to say that for all that they understand it. With BDS and with Zionism, we bring now in the final discussion two very difficult words on the floor, which I would like to have discussed in our discernment groups earlier. And we took a lot of time to do that. Zionism, we should talk first with Jews, because we are talking here about a Jewish movement. Christian Zionism is something we can talk about. And the other thing is BDS is really something we should take time than just raising hands in the one or the other hand. That is my plea.
So, focusing on the amendments there, how does the body feel about them? Just the one. Yeah, just, well, we have three and we have.
Yeah, let's go them separately. So let's just start with number 9.
We'll go to 9 at the bottom first. How do you feel about adding number 9? There's not consensus on that at all. Okay. Let's go up to the First Amendment. Adding the word Zionism. How does the body feel? There's not consensus on that. So let us go then to the next of the amendments. We did that one already? Okay, we're done with that. Okay, so now let's go back to the main proposal. How do you feel? Microphone B, please.
My name is Johann Wolfsmann. I'm an officer, and I would like to draw our attention to number 6. It says, call on Israel and Hamas. In my view, those two don't correlate properly with each other. We should say, call on the Israeli government and Hamas.
Okay, we have that amendment on the floor. How do you feel? I believe that is approved by consensus. So we come back to the main document. How do you feel? I am not seeing any blue cards. I believe we've approved that by consensus. Thank you.
Music to my ears, moderator. Next item, rejecting anti-Semitism. The General Council is called upon to 1, reject anti-Semitism, hostility and prejudice towards Jewish people, in all its forms. 2, encourage member churches to engage in interfaith dialogue that promotes mutual understanding, respect, and shared commitment to human dignity. And 3, refers to the Executive Committee any necessary strategic and resourcing work to be done in this area.
How do you feel? Microphone D.
Andrew Johnson from the Uniting Church. Anti-Semitism is better without the dash, lest it create the impression that there's a Semite race. So just anti-Semitism, one word, is the preferred way of referring to it.
Anti-Semitism, one word. Thank you for that editorial comment. I want to acknowledge microphone A.
Good afternoon. My name is Dario Barolin. I am asking to speak.
Yes.
Thank you. I think that I agree with this sentence, but I believe that we should clarify that a critic to Israel government doesn't qualify as anti-Semitism.
Okay, thank you. Do we, is there someone who could make an amendment to that effect? Who is a delegate? No, okay, go to microphone D.
Thank you, moderator. My concern was, in all its forms, leaves it open to the interpretation that a critique of the state of Israel is anti-Semitism. So given Dario's suggestion, I wonder if we might just say semicolon, critiquing the state of Israel is not by definition anti-Semitic. I think that leaves us out of the trap of saying that it's never anti-Semitic, because sometimes it is anti-Semitic, but it's not by definition anti-Semitic.
I see someone arriving at microphone B.
Should we make it, Karin van der Broek, Protestant Church in the Netherlands, should we make it the government of Israel?
Yeah, okay. Critiquing the government of Israel is not by definition anti-Semitic.
Let us test that amendment. How do you feel?
Madam Moderator, there's still words missing.
Okay.
Critiquing the government of Israel is not by definition anti-Semitic. Sorry to make you type a Y, Doug. Thank you.
Okay, I do have a couple of microphones occupied. C, please.
I agree, of course, that there is legitimate criticism of the government of Israel possible and necessary in many cases, actually right now especially. But of course there's also an anti-Semitic way of criticizing the government of Israel, and you can read it in that way, that criticizing the government of Israel is always legitimate, even though it might be based on anti-Semitic reasoning. We are, in this public witness, we are criticizing the government of Israel ourselves when we call them to stop their violence, and in other passages as well. So I think it goes without saying that it is possible and not necessarily anti-Semitic to criticize the government of Israel as we do it ourselves. But we don't need this amendment, especially as it's very misleading.
I think the original presenter of that amendment is back at the mic. Yeah. So
Sorry,
I will...
my apologies, moderator. I meant to say critiquing the government of Israel is not by definition always anti-Semitic, or we could just say is not always anti-Semitic, because I agree with my colleague that there are anti-Semitic ways of critiquing the government of Israel.
So maybe we can say it like that. You can criticize. There is a non-Semitic, anti-Semitic.
Yeah, critiquing the government of Israel is not.
necessarily rather than always?
Is not necessarily always anti-Semitic, yeah, I think that is better.
Let
Because
me
I
test.
think if we leave the words in all its forms, then I think we've opened ourselves to those proponents of the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism that says, or the definition doesn't say, but some people use it to say that any critique of the state of Israel is anti-Semitic. And so if we're going to say in all its forms, which I agree is strong, this also allows us to do what we're doing.
So we have the body working toward a stronger amendment. Let me test how you feel about this in its current form. I believe we have consensus. So now we come back to the entire of this section, all three. How do you feel? We have consensus. Thank you. Moving on.
Religious nationalism, moderator, persevering in witness to Christ's inclusive gospel. The General Council is called to 1. Reaffirm the commitment to a gospel that is centered on the ministry of Jesus Christ, who revealed the just and loving reign and the radical inclusion of God, countering theologies of hatred and exclusion in his time. 2. Adopt a policy condemning religious nationalism, affirming the rights of religious minorities across the globe, and reinforcing that the Church's loyalty is to God alone and not to any political ideology or power. 3, facilitate the sharing among member churches of resources, theology, and praxis that help them to resist and counter portrayals of the Christian faith as one of hate, exclusion, inequality, and violence. And 4, partner with other global communions like the World Council of Churches, different faith traditions, and any other partners God provides to raise awareness on religious nationalism and advocate in the United Nations.
How do you feel? There is one blue card, if you'd like to speak.
Madam Moderator, thank you very much. Wouter van Wyk, Hervormde Kerk, South Africa. In our discernment group, we just looked at the formulation of number 1. We're in agreement with this proposal before Council, but when we talked about it in our discernment group, we actually agreed after someone mentioned this, that we would prefer the present tense to be used in the second line, to rather say Jesus Christ who reveals the just and loving reign, etc., because it's not something that just happens in the past. And for that reason, also to emphasize that in our discernment group, we have added just the 2 words on the ministry of Jesus Christ, the risen Lord who reveals the just and loving reign. So we just wanted to emphasize that he is actually the Lord over what we believe and do, and he is still revealing to us the just and loving reign and the radical inclusion of God, countering theologies, etc. Thank you so much.
How do we feel about this amendment? We have a blue card coming to the mic.
Bettina Lichtler, Protestant Church of Switzerland. I will try to speak in English. I think when the last words are in his time, it makes no sense to write it in presence.
Microphone C would like to respond.
Chairperson, I think we interpret that in this time, maybe a spelling typo. Don't know.
In what time?
In this time.
In this time?
Yes.
Oh. Do we understand that to possibly what was intended when you, okay, let's take it that it was intended that way.
No idea. It was late. 1 in the morning.
How do you feel about that amendment? Microphone B has a blue card. Please.
Karen van den Broek, Protestant Church in the Netherlands. I like the first amendment really much. Could it be helpful to take the words "in this time" out, so make it that we make it clear that the risen Lord speaks in all times?
So how does the body feel about removing "in this time"? That's consensus, so let us return to the amendment. Let's go back down. Okay, so number 1, reaffirm the commitment to a gospel that is centered on the ministry of Jesus Christ, the risen Lord, who reveals the just and loving reign and the radical inclusion of God, countering theologies of hatred and exclusion. How do you feel about that? We have consensus on that. So now let's take it as the entire section. How do you feel? Microphone C, we have a blue card.
Yeah, actually, I have a concern. I will speak in French. En fait, moi, j'ai un amendement à faire ou un changement à proposer par rapport à la loyauté de l'Église qui va seulement à Dieu. Voilà. J'aimerais proposer à la place que seul Dieu règne sur l'Église. Not loyalty, but... Second paragraph, instead of church loyalty, that God reigns. C'est above the church, but sur l'Église, que seul Dieu règne sur l'Église et non pas la loyauté de l'Église seulement à Dieu. Voilà.
We're having difficulty understanding how that makes sense. Could you read it in a sentence form?
Actually, it refers to Barben 4. That's it. So I don't know if the German people, maybe, I don't know, can help me.
Does anyone want to speak to this? So I'd like to test what's on the screen. Adopt a policy statement condemning religious nationalism, affirming the rights of religious minorities across the globe, and reinforcing that God alone reigns over the church and not any political ideology or power. I think we'd have to take out 2. How does the body feel about that formulation?
Good.
We do have a blue card, if someone would like to speak to that. One of the blue cards said no. Microphone B.
Bettina Lichtle, Protestant Church of Switzerland. It's not only about God reigns over the church, it's much more than the church. So that's not enough.
So is there another amendment to be suggested?
Moderator, just to point out that the original paragraph refers to the church.
Right.
So that is what it is about.
Sorry, I would like to respond. The first is about the loyalty of the church. The loyalty of the church is to God alone. But God reigns, if you put it on the other side, it's something different, that God reigns over the church, and the important is that God reigns also over the state and over the nations and over the world. It makes no sense for religious nationalism if you talk only about God reigns over the church. So I would suggest to stay with the original wording.
So how do you feel about returning to the original language? How does... I see a blue card, if that person would like to respond. No? Okay, we do have one that's really willing to respond. Yes.
I'm Jan Libbe, speaking from the Dutch Reformed Church in South Africa. Maybe, or I'm just asking, if we change the word loyalty to obedience, and reinforcing that the church's obedience is to God alone and not.
Let me test that. Replacing loyalty with obedience. How do you feel? I see a couple blue cards, if anyone would like to speak to that. Anyone? Apparently not. So let me see your cards again about staying with obedience as opposed to loyalty. How do you feel? Okay, I have a couple blue cards. Is anyone of those willing to speak?
Nope.
We don't have consensus. Microphone A, please.
Moderator, I would like to ask to speak, please.
Yes, please.
On this specific point, I think that if we can go back to Barmen Declaration would be a very, how to say, a safe ground on this issue. So if you allow me, I will read just the paragraph on this aspect.
Yes,
Jesus Christ, as he's attested for us in the Holy Scripture, is the one word of God which we have to hear and which we have to trust and obey in life and in death. And not any political ideology of power, I will add.
Could you send that to the table for...
I mean, it's just a humble a suggestion. I don't want to confuse things, but I think that is proper.
Could you say it one more time, please?
Yeah. I will say, I am quoting, Jesus Christ, as he's attested for us in Holy Scripture, is the one word of God which we have to hear and which we have to trust and obey in life and in death. Close, and I will add, and not any political ideology or power.
Was that heard? While this is being discussed, I just encourage you stand up, don't move out of the vicinity, just stand up and sit down and discuss at your tables if you have an idea for moving on in this. But we will get what's been proposed, but if you'd like to just stand, not moving out of the facility, please.
But
someone
she
else.
is. So she's.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we're almost there, so if you would return to your tables, please. Okay, let us look at what's on the screen because it's new. It's mostly massaged, I believe. Adopt a policy statement condemning religious nationalism, affirming the rights of religious minorities across the globe, and reinforcing that Jesus Christ, as he is attested for us in Holy Scripture, is the one Word of God which we have to hear and which we have to trust and obey in life and death. And it's taken from Barman. And not any political ideology or power. And the speaker who suggested this is not a delegate, so I would just invite the person who was willing to, from the microphone 3. Are you willing to move this?
Gemma King, Delegate Church of Scotland, but also Minutes Desk. So I'm moving this. So I move this amendment. Jesus Christ, as he is attested for us in Holy Scripture, is one word of God which we have to hear and which we have to trust and obey in life and death, Barman 2, and not to any political ideology or power.
Thank you. Let's test this. How do you feel? We have consensus. How about, let's now.
Excuse me, just to say it is Barman 1, not 2.
Barman 1. We have an amendment by our consultant. Let us now vote on the entire section and test how you feel. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use the word vote. That has consensus. Thank you. Let's move on.
Moderator, we're in the top 10 now, the last 10 items. Autocratic tendencies in Europe, witnessing for democracy and human dignity. The General Council is called upon to 1. Engage in theological reflection on the rise of authoritarianism and its impact on justice, democracy, and human rights. 2. Examine the Church's role, both complicity and resistance, in the growth of nationalism and autocracy, seeking renewed commitment to truth, humility, and freedom in Christ.
How do you feel? That is approved by consensus.
Militarization, witnessing for peace in a violent world. The General Council is called upon to 1. Participate actively in global efforts for peace, supporting initiatives that promote non-violent conflict resolution, peace building, and justice. 2. Encourage member churches to establish and support ministries specifically designed to assist displaced persons and refugees. 3. Encourage member churches to collaborate with local and global partners to address the growing food insecurity resulting from international conflicts. 4. Work towards establishing programs to encourage social cohesion and combat xenophobia in communities affected by migration. 5. Collaborate with ecological and humanitarian organizations to advocate for environmental protection in conflict zones and promote sustainable development in post-war recovery efforts. And 6, invite member churches to call on their governments to reduce excessive military spending and redistribute resources for peace building and social developments.
How do you feel? I see a couple of blue cards, if you'd like to speak.
Helene Zorgdrager, Protestant Church in the Netherlands. I will speak to number 6. To reduce excessive military spending. What do we mean by that? My country, the Netherlands, has increased its military budget, necessary because we need to support Ukraine. And unfortunately, that's only possible now with weapon supplies, as many other European countries have also done. So is this excessive military spending, or is it necessary military spending from the position of solidarity with a country, a nation that is fighting for its mere survival, its right to exist as a nation, as a people, and as an independent state? So who could speak to this excessive military spending? What do we mean by that?
So do you have a proposed amendment, or just to delete the whole section? Number 6, what is your desire?
Well, so from our European context, I have really problems with this number 6, but I'm also aware that other contexts have a very different situation where the excessive military spending is used against the own population or against minorities in the own country. And not to raise a whole discussion about it, I'm willing to file my dissent here.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak to that? Number D. D, I said? Yeah.
Victoria Turner, United Reformed Church UK. I'll speak in English. I'm also wanting to address number 6, but I think for different reasons. So I see further up in these resolutions, we have that we are committing to work to non-violent conflict resolution. And I just want to point out the irony in number 6, talking about reducing excessive military spending. If as a communion we're working for non-violence, then we should reduce military spending, full stop. The idea of reducing excessive military spending is us condoning some military spending, and I think if we're working towards non-violence, we want to reduce all military spending. So indeed, my amendment is to reduce military spending.
To remove the word excessive, is that your suggestion?
Yeah.
Okay. How, I think we might want, I'd like to take this in order, so I'm wondering if the speaker at microphone 3 would say what her desire, if she had an amendment, or she wanted to just strike that. How did you?
Yes, if I bring an amendment, it would be to delete this, because it is too complex and it speaks different to different contexts. So, as for me, I would delete it, but if the House is of a different opinion, then I will file a dissent. I will not call on my government to reduce military spending. Actually, in the Dutch situation and in other countries as well, this would mean to support the far-right parties who are the only ones who want to reduce military spending in the current situation. So that is the dilemma.
Okay, so I want to test that one first. How does the body feel about removing number 6? We have, don't see a lot of cards, so would people want to weigh in here? We're not seeing consensus at all. So, so I would, let me acknowledge microphone A.
Okay, Francisco Cardona from Presbyterian Church of Colombia. Ayer, I want to speak in Spanish. Ayer estamos reflexionando sobre este punto, que nos pareció muy importante también, y como dijo también que me antecedió en la palabra, las realidades son diferentes, ¿cierto? Yo no quitaría lo de reduce excessive military spending, porque en un país como Colombia, donde los recursos militares no alcanzan para poder hacer control del territorio, pues proponerle que reduzca el gasto militar es una locura, ¿cierto? Una de las causas de la violencia en Colombia durante estos más de 200 años se debe a la falta de presencia del Estado militar, claro, también en educación, en salud y los otros temas, pero no podemos proponer que se reduzca el gasto militar en un país como Colombia, que ha sido tan afectado por la violencia y que esa es una de las causas de la violencia. Entonces, como mínimo, ayer hicimos nosotros una propuesta que veo que no quedó pues en su totalidad, pero al menos pusieron la palabra excesivo, ¿cierto? Entonces yo no quitaría lo de la palabra excesivo porque me parece que es importante que los países puedan garantizar la seguridad, que que es un principio de libertad para favorecer las democracias y la justicia en nuestras naciones. Muchas gracias.
So if I may just clarify, you would remove the word excessive or not? Not remove. Okay. Thank you. So, does anyone have a suggestion for making this stronger or clarifying? Microphone C, do you?
Yes.
Okay. Microphone C, please.
I would like to propose an amendment to 6. Invite member churches to call on their governments to reduce excessive military spending, excessive manufacturing of military equipments, and redistribute, etc. It is not only spending, buying, but also people who are manufacturing military equipments. That's my amendment. Manufacturing of military equipments.
Microphone, thank you, Speaker. Microphone A, please.
In the light of the discussions, my feeling is that we as a church body are meddling with politics. This is not what we should be doing. We can talk about reconciliation and peaceful means of reconciliation, but this is not our topic, I feel. Thank you. So my suggestion would be to remove this.
Remove section 6. First of all, I'd like to deal with the last amendment that says to invite member churches to call on their governments to reduce military spending, excessive manufacturing of military equipment, and redistribute resources for peace building and social developments. How do you feel about that amendment? Lots of blues. Okay. Thank you, that's helpful. So I want to recognize microphone B.
Michel Blanc from the Swiss Protestant Church of Switzerland. In Europe, I want in the future survive, so I would like to delete number 6.
I was advised that first we need to test the House on what the amendment is on 6, removing number 6. How do you feel about removing number 6? We don't have consensus about that. So, there are a couple of options open to us. We can ask the body if that we agree that no decision has been made on this, that we cannot come to agreement. That would be one option. Or we can bring it to a vote. Someone needs to advise us. Microphone B.
Martin Hirzel, Protestant Church in Switzerland. But shouldn't we now see if we have consensus to leave excessive as it was in the beginning? Because I think that could find a consensus. I think we shouldn't. We have decided that we don't want to remove it, but we wanted to go back to the original sentence.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's test removing, or no? Coming back to the original language, leaving in excessive. How do you feel? We have a few blues, mostly oranges. Can you accept us that we could move on? No. Someone coming to microphone D. Oh, B, sorry. Well, we had one at B I didn't see. Sorry.
Bianca Galland from the Protestant Church in the Netherlands. Because it's a very context issue, I would prefer or would ask to make from this sentence where it is relevant. So invite member churches to call on their governments or to call on their governments where it is relevant to reduce excessive blah, blah, blah. Then we put it in every context where it is necessary.
So, thank you, Speaker. Now we have before us another amendment which says invite member churches to call on their governments where it is relevant to reduce excessive military spending and redistribute resources for peace building and social development. How do you feel about that? Just the amendment. I see mostly orange, but I do see some blue. So I will call on microphone D because I know you came with the blue.
Victoria Turner, United Reformed Church, UK, are speaking English. I'm really struggling that this is meant to be kind of a Christian fellowship, and it's always relevant that we petition our governments to stop military spending and instead work towards non-violent peacemaking. I understand situations. We're not saying that we're not petitioning every government to get rid of all military spending, but we're saying every single context needs to work towards reducing military spending, reducing killing people, and working towards the way of Jesus of reconciliation and love without violence. How is this something that we're debating? I'm completely lost. Sorry, maybe I got a bit angry with my phone.
Okay. We are now apparently back to the original language. So removing where it is relevant to reduce so it is the original language on this proposal. So how do you feel about it now? We do have a split, but from my reading, we have more oranges than blues. So I guess I want some advice as to how you want to move forward. Do the noes give consent to move on? Microphone B.
Martin Hirzel, Protestant Church in Switzerland, but now I'm a little bit confused. We just adopted or had consensus on adding this proposal from the Netherlands to have this precision where it is relevant inside. I think then we should not remove it before having the consensus a solid decision.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we did not find consensus on that.
But it was quite a big consensus, I think. It was only a small part who did not accept.
But that is the reason why I asked if we could move on, because we aren't coming to full consensus at this point. So I think I will call, excuse me, no, sorry. Go ahead.
I think the consensus method does not include that we always have to come to full consensus. There can be a complete consensus, but also only a consensus with some voices who are not, they can have their dissenting voice recorded, but that's my understanding of consensus.
I had asked if we were willing to move on, and that was not accepted. So I believe at this point we are still in this discerning here. I'm going to go to microphone D.
I'm Hannes Brüggemann from the Reformed Alliance in Germany. I will speak in English, and I will try with a slight change, but maybe that will find consensus, to substitute excessive for unreasonable military spending.
We can test it. How do you feel? I don't believe that has the approval from the body. I will now we do need to bring this to a conclusion. We have to find a way forward. I am looking to see if anyone has a proposal to move us forward on this. Would we like to bring it to a vote? If we would like it to bring it to a vote, someone has to move that from the floor. Microphone C asks, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Andrew Johnson from the Uniting Church. I'm a delegate and I speak in English. I'm happy to move that we bring it to a vote.
Okay. We need...
Can I raise a point of clarification?
Excuse me?
I don't think we voted on the amendment about keeping or removing excessive. Can we vote on that amendment before we vote on 6, please?
Excessive is, can you help us understand, is excessive part of the original language? Yes, so we have that already, and we brought it back, and this is,
It was
there is not consensus.
along with another, we haven't voted on it on its own. We voted on it alongside another amendment that came, but we haven't had one vote on my amendment, which was just to reduce excessive because we got distracted with other things.
First of all, we're not voting, but second of all, we are bringing this back as the original because we are bringing it to the original language because we have not found consensus on anything else. And that is why I had asked to test this, and we did not find consensus there either. So our... And then I asked if we would have someone want to move the House to a vote, and that was approved, or someone did. So now we want to ask the body if you would like to bring this to a vote. Please show your cards. We do have a 2/3 majority to bring it to a vote. If you would like to vote yes on item number 6, please stand. If you would like to vote yes on item 6, please stand. This is the original language. It is to keep it as it was originally because we did not approve to remove excessive. Thank you. You may be seated now. Please, those of you who would like to vote no, please rise. Stand. You may be seated. According to the tally, the motion has been approved to retain number 6. Microphone B.
Moderator, with respect for the decision taken by the House, I will file a dissent.
Thank you for your graciousness then. Okay, now we are, microphone B.
Bianca Galland from the Netherlands. I stand up for that it stays number 6 because of solidarity with the countries and the situation where this is happening and where they need it. So I ask, I don't know if it's still possible, that there's also solidarity with us, because what is happening now, we are pushing to the right wing from our politics, and we don't like to be there. So we need to be in solidarity with each other. So I think the relevant that I ask for, the relevant situation, I would add it again and ask to vote for that.
Moderator, we can't amend that proposal. It's been carried as it is.
Right.
You can just do the whole thing.
So now we need to vote on, test consensus on the entire section. So please, section
all of it.
1 through 5, yes. May I see sections 1 through 5, please show your cards. We have a preponderance of orange cards, and I am wondering if those who have blue cards would agree to either register your dissent or go with the will of the orange cards. Microphone B.
Myself is Romila, and I'm from the Presbyterian Church of Pakistan, delegate and speak in English. I would like to amend the point 2. Encourage member churches to establish and support ministries specially designed to assist disabled persons and refugees. I would like to amend to add, and those who were disabled by the effect of the militarization, or who became disabled by the effect of the militarization.
Displaced, is that what, disabled or displaced? How did you, disabled? Became disabled, okay. How do you feel about that addition? We have consensus on that. Let's come back to the section 1 through 5. How do you feel? We have consensus. Thank you.
The next item, moderator, persevering in witness for peace, justice, and hope amid global turmoil. We'll try to do better this time in speaking nicely so everybody finds consensus. The first section is about the Korean Peninsula, pilgrimage of peace and reunification. The General Council is called upon to 1. Pray and speak out so that governments choose de-escalation and reopen dialogue to ease military tensions in Korea and Northeast Asia. 2. Observe the Sunday of prayer for the peaceful reunification of Korea, Sunday before 15th August, and encourage all WCRC churches to join using the shared prayer resources in their own worship context. 3. Support and strengthen the Ecumenical Forum for Peace, Reunification, and Development of the Korean Peninsula, with WCRC partners to reopen spaces for encounter and theological dialogue among churches in North and South Korea and the region. 4. Advocate for humanitarian exceptions to sanctions and travel restrictions that block faith-based engagement and compassionate service. 5. Engage in the Korean peace pilgrimage through youth exchanges, peace education, prayer networks, and ecumenical learning circles that nurture a community of peace in action. And 6, encourage the WCRC to extend an ecumenical peace delegation or pilgrimage as a visible sign of global solidarity and a witness against war.
How do you feel? We have consensus. Thank you. I want to just ask the question. We realize that we are past our time, and I want to test the House to ask for your indulgence that we could go until 7 o'clock. How do you feel about that? Thank you. Appreciate that.
B, regional peace and solidarity with Taiwan. 1, accompany the Presbyterian Church of Taiwan and the people of Taiwan through the platform of the Taiwan Ecumenical Forum in order to enhance the international visibility of Taiwan and to strengthen our common witness for peace and justice in the region. 2, pray for peace and justice in Taiwan and all Asia-Pacific nations facing conflict, upholding truth, freedom, and human dignity among growing tensions. And 3, raise awareness concerning China's expanding influence in the region while urging the creation of dialogue platforms for a just and lasting peace.
How do you feel? I do see a couple of microphone A, please.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Gary, delegate from the Hong Kong Council of the Church of Christ in China. I'm speaking in English. This is not a request for amendment, but we would like to seek the House understanding that we would like to make a remark here. HKCCC has a long history of fellowship with the Presbyterian Church of Taiwan, and brother and sister among us understand and love each other deeply. But the situation is that we have to make look here. The situation is in view of the implementation of national security law in Hong Kong. The delegates find that it is necessary to respectfully to make a look here that certain statement in the report, particularly referring to Taiwan as a nation and about her liberalization and self-determination, are considered not agreeable from our position. To avoid doubt, we are not making a request of amendment, just looks that to release the delegates from potential legal liability. So I hope you all understand about this.
I believe the language that we would put into the record is for our Taiwanese delegates that their dissent will be recorded appropriately.
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong?
Chair.
Hong Kong, sorry, Hong Kong. Yes, sorry. So it would be for the record to show that their dissent will be made appropriately. Okay? Is that, thank you.
Chair.
Microphone C.
Thank you, Nico Mostert from Dutch Reformed Church. I was also the scribe of Group 15, and we did send through a paragraph related to this issue, to be pleading for a sensitivity from our Hong Kong delegates in this regard. So if they do vote against this, it's okay.
Thank you. I see someone moving to the mic to mic C.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Alessandra from Congregational Christian Church Samoa. Just an amendment, please, for clarity. And number 2, Asia Pacific is together, but if we can just add and Asia and Pacific, just to clarify the 2 different regions that WCRC also acknowledges. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the body agree to the and? Yes, that's approved by consensus. Thank you. Microphone D.
Tai Xun Tao from Presbyterian Church in Taiwan, and I'm going to speak in English. Just an amendment that we are the Presbyterian Church in Taiwan. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. We have that trouble in the Reformed Church in America or of America, so I really resonate with that. Thank you. So now let us test the body on this. How do you feel? There is consensus. Thank you.
Unpeace in the Philippines. 1. Stand in active solidarity with the Filipino people in their struggles for self-determination, which is just and lasting peace that addresses the roots of injustice by calling for the resumption of GRP-NDFP peace negotiations that address the roots of unpeace, help investigate violations of human rights and international humanitarian law through pastoral visits, and expose and deepen global understanding of the roots and manifestations of systemic violence and repression in the Philippines and their links to global militarization and regional instability in the Asia, and Pacific. 2, help establish GFPH in the context of the global movement of mutual solidarity, reinvigorate moral, material, and other forms of support for Philippine churches in the work for peace based on justice.
How do you feel? I believe we have consensus.
Statement on the Presbyterian Church of Myanmar. The General Council is called upon to 1. Continue to pray for peace, justice, and healing in Myanmar. 2. Stand in solidarity with the people of Myanmar and all of those who suffer under oppression. 3. Support member churches' efforts in education, healthcare, and peace building as acts of faith and compassion. And 4. Stand in solidarity with refugees and migrants from Myanmar who live as stateless people.
How do you feel? I see one blue card. You'd like to speak?
I am Reverend Roland San from Myanmar, delegate of Christian Reformed Church of Myanmar. I would like to amend the title. Yesterday we have the amendment in consensment group. The title one. Okay, that's yesterday we write that Myanmar, not just in Presbyterian Church of Myanmar, that's inclusive all of membership of CRWA. So Myanmar cry for justice and peace on civilian war. Myanmar and yes, a cry for justice and peace on civilian war. Because if you just put the Presbyterian Church of Myanmar, that is not inclusive of all of our church members. So that is, we want Myanmar country.
Thank you. How does the body feel?
Yes.
We have consensus. Oh, microphone C.
Moderator, thank you. It's Jan Lubbe speaking from South Africa. I was part of one of the groups who visited the camps last week, and we all came under the impression of the impact of a civil war in a country and the government persecuting its own civilians, and from decades already. And if I look at this, these 4 points, it's really, for me, not strong enough. It is not for no reason that we are convening in Thailand, Chiang Mai, kilometers away from that war zone and those people living in those camps without any hope, crying for help. So I am glad that we changed the topic, the heading of this specific paragraph, but those 4 points, for me, aren't enough. I don't know enough about the situation to make an amendment. Perhaps some of the other members, or members from Myanmar, may add that, but I want something stronger than those 4 points. Make a call to the international community or to the governments of the surrounding countries. Isn't there any way in which that war can be as strong as our plea for Palestine was? I think we should, in the same sense, make an urgent call here on the communities and the international community. Thank you.
Thank you. We do need to go back and test the amendment to change the title. If we could see the title again. Myanmar should be colon. Okay. Myanmar, a cry for justice and peace on civilian war. How do we feel about that title? I think we have consensus on that. Thank you. Now, the body of it, the request, the proposals, the request that they need to be made, be strengthened. Is there a suggestion? I don't see anyone coming to suggest that. So then let us bring the whole proposal, see how you feel. We have consensus.
Venezuela and the Caribbean, region of peace, not war. The General Council is called upon to 1, denounce the ongoing US-led aggression against Venezuela and its people, including targeted repression and stigmatization, organize and promote a global and regional campaign to advocate for the immediate lifting of the economic and political blockade against Venezuela. 2, call for an end to illegal military action against Venezuelan and other vessels in the Caribbean. 3, call for an end to the US interference in the internal Venezuelan political affairs. 4, call on the United Nations and multilateral organizations to mobilize diplomatic efforts toward non-military solutions that uphold human rights, democracy, and self-determination. And 5, undertake a pastoral solidarity visit to our member church in Venezuela, together with April, which is the WCRC Latin America region, and other willing ecumenical actors.
How do you feel? There is a blue card if someone would like to speak.
Madam Moderator, thank you very much. I'm a little bit concerned, joining up with what the previous speaker has said, that we are involving ourselves here in the field of politics. And to be quite frank, I do know nothing about the situation in Venezuela. And now we are being called to make a judgment on what the situation in Venezuela is. So my personal opinion would be that it would be better to retain paragraph 5. With that, I can identify to send a delegation to undertake a pastoral solidarity visit to our member church in Venezuela. But I'm very reluctant to make political decisions about a situation about which I really don't know anything. Thank you.
Microphone D.
Roderick Hewitt. Sir, I'm a consultant. Can I have permission?
Yes,
to
please.
speak? Chair, I am so surprised with the comment that I'm hearing, because politics is rooted in issues that concerns threats to life. That's what all of those 5 points are about. And furthermore, from the Caribbean region, in the earlier document that went to the group, the highlight of that document was on the impact of the peoples within the Caribbean region, for example, the fishermen folks and their livelihood, for which they are being denied because of the militarization within the Caribbean region. And reading all of that, I think there's an absence of how the Caribbean region now is a zone of war, denying people the right for them to carry out the basic lifestyle of fishing and earning. And in fact, recently, we have received news of fishermen in Trinidad dying, and they're classified as collateral damage. That, for me, is the missing link in the 5 points, that we should focus also on the threats to life and the economic livelihood of people in the region.
So do you, Speaker, do you offer an amendment or addition?
I would need to just frame it and get back to you while I'm sitting.
Does anyone else have an amendment that we could? We will then go back to the original language. How do you feel? Is the blue card willing to allow the body to move on? Yes. Then we have reached consensus. Thank you.
Haiti, cry for peace, justice, and repair. The General Council is called to 1, request the Executive Committee to develop a statement calling for peace, justice, and reparation in and for Haiti. 2, resolve to be more active in accompanying churches in Haiti to help and support them in their time of need.
How do you feel? We have consensus.
Madagascar, a cry for justice and hope for a new beginning. the General Council is called upon to 1. Be in solidarity with the Malagasy people in their distress at the catastrophic situation in their country and their desire to build a more just future. 2. To pray for Madagascar, its transitional leaders, that they may govern with integrity, wisdom, accountability, and a genuine commitment to service the people rather than power. And 3, appeal to international bodies to partner governments to maintain aid and development funding for Madagascar.
How do you feel? Microphone A.
Sorry, Madam Moderator, my name is Isette. I'm going to speak in Spanish. Quería hacerlo antes de salir de la región América Latina y el Caribe. Pero recuerdo que ayer se aprobó en esta plenaria incluir en el documento de asuntos públicos el tema de Cuba presentado por CANAC. Y no veo que está en la región, no está en todo el documento.
Moderator, we did discuss it in the drafting team last night. Unfortunately, we did not have that statement from CANAC, despite our having asked for it, but it is covered in the last proposal that I will present. Yes.
We are on the topic of Madagascar. We'll return to your point as that after we finish this one. How do you feel about Madagascar? We have consensus. I didn't mean about Madagascar, but about the topic of Madagascar. We have consensus.
Solidarity call from churches in Germany, witness in a changing context. The General Council is called upon to 1. Explore what theological and educational resources exist within member churches to support churches facing membership decline and changing social context. And 2. To share best practices from south to north about strategies to inspire more enthusiasm for God's word.
How do you feel? We have consensus.
We come to the last proposal, Moderator, in conclusion, and here, again, you realize that we did work until 1 a.m., but despite that, we did not have enough information on the Cuba blockade, South Sudan, and the proposal on the Kenya youth, to be able to formulate proposals. So we are proposing as follows. The General Council refers to the Executive Committee those specific concerns we have heard during the public hearings, procedural inclusions and communications, and any submitted proposal, including the Cuba blockade, South Sudan, and the Kenya youth, which the Public Witness Committee discerned needed more careful work and consideration, best dealt with by the Executive Committee to take into account and act upon.
I see a blue card asking to come. Okay. How do you feel about the proposal? Okay, we have a few blue cards. Invite speaker at microphone A.
Yesterday, I was informed or asked to move about the Armenians of Artsakh, which were deported by the thousands from their homeland in 2023. We did that in our discernment group, and I would ask the moderator, Madam Moderator, to take this with the Cuba and Southern Sudan and the rest to the Executive Committee. Armenians who were indigenous in their land, they were taken out of their land as refugees, 100,000 of them, and churches are being destroyed to this day, and heritages of hundreds of years old. So I would like to put this also on the table, if I may.
How do you feel about that addition? We have consensus on that.
Moderator.
Microphone C.
Yes, moderator, thank you very much, Jan Libbe. It is 7 o'clock.
This is our last proposal.
I know,
Okay.
but this is a very important point I would like to make. I think coming to the end of our session on all these public issues, and there's not enough, the proposals wasn't there. But there are other situations around the globe where I think we need to add to that list and at least spend a little bit of time to discern around that. I can give you a few names. It's perhaps not enough to just say South Sudan. We need the DRC in the Congo. To add that, we need to add Mozambique. We are very concerned about rising levels of violence in my country, South Africa, actually a femicide taking place. So my call is, let's take a break, have dinner, and perhaps return or continue tomorrow morning at this specific point. It's necessary to speak more about these situations.
Let's take a pause for a little consultation.
Firstly, to bring it back to Ron. But second,
Nee, het gaat mij erom dat, dat alles wat aangevraagd is specifiek genoemd wordt. Ja. Ja.
In consultation with the General Secretary, we do want to honor our 7 o'clock, even though I know we're a little past, but don't want to make quick decisions. We would ask that if you have other situations that you want to add to a consideration of this particular, as was just mentioned, there are other situations that could fall under this same category. If that could be sent to us, is that appropriate? And then we would add that to another session tomorrow. So that, or not tomorrow? Oh, to add to the minutes. I'm sorry. I need a little help on this one.
So let me preface it by one of the learnings from this is we try to forestall issues coming on the spur of the moment by a year in advance asking people to bring the issues. But I'm not going to dwell on that. These issues are important. So please, you know your various scribes. They know the email address of the drafting team. This evening, if you want to add to that last section this evening, just send the issue. Realistically, it can only be referred to the executive committee. So just add the issue, they'll write it in and test with us tomorrow morning. I think that's the best way forward. Just write any additions in through your the scribe that you know. It doesn't need to go to discernment again, but that issue will be forwarded to the drafting team, and they'll simply add it to the last recommendation, which is being sent to the executive committee, and that will be tested tomorrow morning.
Thank you for that explanation. And I want to say I apologize for those who have been left at Mike's, especially I know the person at B was left, but in the interest of trying to wrap this session up so you can go eat, this is where we are. So could we have a motion to refer this to the drafting team to come back tomorrow? How does the body feel? There is consensus. Thank you.
Look, announcement. Yes, announcement. Yes, I have some announcements to make.
General Secretary will now, Interim General Secretary will now give us some announcements.
Thank you. The first one is, please let's remember to return our earphones to the desks. That's very important before you leave tonight, and then pick them again in the morning. I want to apologize to the body that I had been forgetting a very important announcement since Monday. Each time I have it, but I wanted to be brief, and it keeps receding to the background. That is the amount that was collected in the celebration service on Sunday, to let the body know the amount. That amount is 3,755.28 euros. There were different currencies, but they were all computed in euros. So 3,755.28. Thank you very much. We know you care in investing in the communion. That leads me to make a couple of other announcements that are related to it. One, some people have met me in the hallways to say, in response to our earlier letters, they've brought certain gifts to bring to the communion. You can bring them tomorrow and leave at table number 37. If they're in the nature that needs to be recorded, WCRC staff is just in the next table 38, and they'll record it then. If you just simply need to leave it as a gift, just leave it at table 37, and it will be duly noted with gratitude. So thank you very much for that. The new executive committee meeting this evening will start 15 minutes after we break from here in the Nok Yung room in the Empress Premier. Not the bigger hotel here, but the one after that, for those who are staying in the big hotel, in the Premier. It's on the 3rd floor of that building, Empress Premier, and it will start 15 minutes. It includes dinner, so please be there on time. Those who are leaving tomorrow, the check-in time of the hotel is originally 12 noon, but we have negotiated until 2. Check out, not check-in, I'm sorry. It's 7 p.m. So, those who are checking out tomorrow, we've negotiated that you don't have to check out at the noon, which is the normal time, but 2 p.m. Even if your flight is late in the evening, please bring your luggage out and check out, and they will show you a luggage area where you can keep it until the time is for you to leave. I understand it is possible to ask for the same privilege for those who are in Premier. They can also leave it in a luggage area, actually in the Premier. But when the time for leaving comes, you will still need to bring it to the Chiang Mai hotel. You have to be there 3.5 hours before your departure time, so that you can get to the airport between 2.5 hours to 3 hours, depends upon how the vehicles move. So 3.5 hours before your departure time, please be at the lobby of the Chiang Mai Empress Hotel. Madam, yes. Tomorrow's program is slightly changed, so we need to take note of it. The morning devotion time will include the installation of the new executive committee. So let's take note and be here on time so that we can be part of that meaningful moment where the new executive committee is installed in office. We will then proceed by taking the last deciding session, which includes the last point of the public issues and the message committee and the finance committee and the constitution. Those will be the last points. We do have one ecumenical greeting that we will be taking at that time tomorrow also. And my final point is, after the finance committee reports, we will be launching what was reported to us, if approved, as the not the 10 euro campaign anymore, but the $10 campaign. We ask that you come prepared to walk your talk as we launch the $10 campaign tomorrow, with each of us doing our part in launching it. Thank you. It's time for dinner.